people in Belize is an issue of grave concern since its prevalence, particularly with high school students in Belize City, is relatively high. A recent study shows that a majority of teenagers, mostly between the ages of 14 and 16, have experimented with illegal substances. These include marijuana and crack cocaine, while others are equally introduced to alcohol and tobacco consumption around the same age.
This study was done with third-year high school students. So for that particular sample of the study, three-quarters of them admitting to having experimented with alcohol. Why we're saying experimented is because we asked them to report lifetime, which meant having used it once. We asked them to report their use 12 months before the questionnaire was completed and 30 days before the questionnaire was completed. And we saw that the first report for lifetime was three-quarters of them, about 76.4%.
Simply put, 3 out of every 4 teenagers from all students who participated in the survey admit to having tried alcohol at least once. According to a study published in the Journal of School Health, the theory of a gateway drug is not associated with marijuana, but rather one of the most damaging and socially accepted drug in the world, alcohol.
What I notice here that the age tends to be in the early teens, maybe 14, 15, 16, while in Central America I've seen figures or studies, comparative work that suggests that they start much earlier, younger, as young as 10, 9, 10, 11. For marijuana specifically, and unfortunately our study didn't flag that, but I'm sure it's something that we can present afterwards, just for comparison purposes. In Central America, we have seen that people take up marijuana, young people take up marijuana at a much older age.
In contrast, marijuana is being consumed at a younger age in Belize. Curiously, the results of the study indicate that females are more likely to snort cocaine than men. It also shows that there is a little difference between males and females as it pertains to drug use.
Is there a difference between females and males in doing drugs? Well, we found that with this particular sample, there's really no difference except for 4. In 4 of them, we found that males were more likely to do these particular 3 drugs out of the 4, which was tobacco, and we measured that in the form of cigarette smoking, use of marijuana, and crack. And interestingly, females were more likely to do inhalants. We found that 16.1% of that particular sample reported having used once in a lifetime.
While the statistics show that drug use among youths is found frequently, the effects are far-reaching, beginning first with a drop in academic performance.
What it translates as it relates to the social impact, the implications. Well, for one, we believe that that the more students use or abuse drugs and alcohol and illicit or illicit drugs, their performance in school will probably be affected negatively, meaning that they will drop out of school, they won't perform as good. And of course there are other possible implications, maybe depression, maybe aspects of self-esteem, maybe anger, maybe violence, and of course accidents. All these things can be as a consequence to high use of drugs and alcohol within, by young people.
Of equal interest is that, contrary to popular opinion, teenagers who live in extended family households are more likely to experiment with crack as opposed to those from single-parent homes.
In most studies, we find that family origin does have an impact, right? But we almost are saying all the time as well, single-parent families, and it's a negative connotation. But in this study, what we found is that it wasn't a single-parent family. More than half of the students lived in single-parent families, by the way, from this particular sample. But what we found that it was the extended family or the blended family that was a predictor for crack use for the young male.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.